Yo, everyone. What is good? It's your boy, Kenny. And welcome to another episode of Kenny's Corner. Guys, we've done it. We have reached week 14, the final regular season game or regular season week of the fantasy football season. It's been a ride, that's for sure. A lot of, we always like to say a lot of ups and downs. Uh, but it's been a good one. And before I even get into anything, I just like to thank everyone for the support that's been given really to me doing this little weekly video thing. It's been a lot of fun. I've had so much fun doing it. And thank you to all the guests that have joined me each week. Really appreciate that. It makes it so much more fun, somebody to debate with and talk about football with. And I'll definitely continue doing these, going into next season, going into the playoffs this season, obviously. And then I'll do it with our sleeper league next year. So, so should be really good. And, I hope to, maybe we'll talk about having maybe a permanent guest potentially, or continue to do like just, special guests. So we'll figure all that out along the way. But so thank you, everyone. I really appreciate all the support. Shout out to, I think it was BMAC or Shane or Nick, one of those three that gave the idea to do this in the first place. So shout out to you. I think it was BMAC. So shout out you, BMAC. Thank you for kind of like, doing this idea, because I know I had first started with what was it called? Whatever the Matthew Berry did, whatever it was, the week by week thing. Hell, love hate. I started with love hate, and then after that, since he wasn't doing it anymore, I didn't really have to post it, and then I didn't really feel like doing my own, so so he thought of the idea of doing this little video thing. So, and I was like, oh, cool. Shout out to you, B-Mac. Thank you very much for giving me the idea. But anywho, let's move. Let's talk here. So this is, this is going to be a crazy week. So first, like to say, we have two division clinchers here. Shout out to the Manning brothers here. Myself and Dan, we both clinched our respective divisions. So congrats to both of us here. That's very good. As you can see here, we're both 4 games and 5-game win streaks. They haven't really said it yet just because there's still a possibility. Not really. But technically, I've clinched the 1 seed. But since I'm playing Dan this week, I'm a game ahead of him. If he beats me, he would have to outscore me by almost 200 points, like 190, pretty much 89 points, and I don't think that's going to happen. So, essentially, I'm the 1 seed, and Dan will be the 2 seed. So, we still have the 3 and the 4 seeds in the playoffs up for grabs. Will we have a team play spoiler this week? There are some matchups that, some spoiler matchups that can be played. So fighting for the last 2 spots are BMAC, Corey, Nick, and Shane. And they each all have, an opportunity to get in. You look at, these percentages don't really mean much, but like, look, there's not like a 5%, a 1%. No, these are like 30% and above. So it's going to come down to really this week is a very important week. It's the last week. So, wow, that was, so yeah. And really a lot of it is going to stem from between Corey and BMAC. Nick and Shane, I'm just going to be honest with you right now. You really want Corey or BMAC to lose, because then your scenarios and your percentages will increase. So, those 2 guys, I will go through it all because I have them all written down. But, I'm just going to say this. You want at least one of them to lose. For sure. But looking back, we have some additional eliminations. Vinny at 5 and 8 has been eliminated. And unfortunately, Trayvon has been eliminated. And it's not some. It's actually not his fault because he's actually been uh winning. He's actually won the 2 games in a row since we last told him he's got to win out. But unfortunately, due to the schedule, he's actually not making it because um because Shane and Nick actually play each other, and they, because of that, one of them is going to have the 8 wins. If these guys both went to 7-7, they played different teams, and Trayvon won, could have been a different story. So it actually was the schedule that screwed over Trayvon, which is why he's at, um, which is why he's eliminated. So he was doing everything right, but yeah. Yeah, so unfortunately, that's why Trayvon is actually not going to make it, is because of schedule purposes. I mean, it still would have been a long road. He would have need to, um, have, just because of like point situation here, 15. Well, they were about the same. So, yeah, I mean, I think schedule really screwed over Trey a little bit. So Trey's just had a really rough year, especially with, Chase and Brown and, Bowers starting off a little slow. So his team really didn't pick up until it was a little too late, which is unfortunate. Um, but, it was a solid team. So Trayvon, he just kind of got really unlucky this year, to be honest. With the injury to Burrow really affected Chase and Brown. So, um, but that's unfortunately fantasy life, and better luck next year. And then Vinny, I know at the beginning of the season I had said that you were having like an A+ team with McCaffrey and Saquon there, but injuries with your wide receivers really, really messed you up. Saquon being not what he was last year at all really took a big toll, especially him being your first round pick. So it's just how it goes. Just is what it is. I did like your team though. Great pick on the Drake May. He's been solid for you. Drake London as well. But I think with your injuries to a lot of injuries you had this year, it's been pretty tough for you. So also the fact due to the very little moves you've made, 16. So, but it's all right, man. Better luck next year, Vinny. You know, hopefully this time, you'll come back stronger than ever, as they say. So yes, so that's why we are down to now the final 2 spots here. Crazy that like 3 of them being in one conference or one division with the same record, which is nuts. So here are the different scenarios. Let's get right into it. First, before we do that though, I want to jump into the matchups because it won't make sense, based on the matchups. So first off, Dan and I here, this will be a fun one. 2 first place division folks. We got Vinny taking on BMAC. This could be an upset. I could see an upset here for sure, especially if London comes back. Probably the most important matchup, or one of the most important matchups, is this one. This is definitely a game of the week. No doubt about it. Game of the week, Shane versus Nick. I mean, you have to win this. Like, there are scenarios where you need to win. So this is going to be the matchup that we're all going to be looking forward to. And this one with Corey too, between Corey and Tybo, and then BMAC and Vinny, to help these 2 guys out. So, just wanted to show you those matchups. This is the one I want to circle because I'll show you why. So, playoff scenarios here. Okay, so it's very strange. It's all stemming from a BMAC win or loss. So, if BMAC wins his matchup, he's in. BMAC, you're winning in. You control your own destiny. All right? So you win and you win. So if BMAC wins, it affects a lot of other things too, because now he's claiming the 3rd spot. And you guys are just fighting for the 4th spot. Whereas if BMAC loses, he'll be 8-6. And then what do between Shane and Nick, who wins that will also be 8-6. Then it'll come down to points. So this is why I'm saying BMAC controls his own destiny. If he wins, he's in. If not, then now everyone's fighting for 2 spots. So I would say the best chance for Shane or Nick to even have a shot is if BMAC loses. So you better hope Tybo plays upset this week, because otherwise then you guys are all fighting for 1 spot. But let's go to the scenario that BMAC does win his matchup. He's in. Nick, we'll start with you. If you win and Corey wins, just because Corey does beat you guys by points, which is, it's tough because with Corey having with the amount of points he has, it's going to be very difficult for you guys to get in if you guys have the same record. So if Corey wins and BMAC wins, they're both most likely going to be in for the final 2 spots. But if you both win, Nick, you just have to outscore Corey by 126.2. Crazier things have happened. I mean, or you could win and Corey loses. All right? Because you're playing Shane, it's a win and Corey loss. All right? So that's why the winner of this matchup, their percentage will spike up a little bit, and then it's going to matter of these 2 matchups. Shane, for you, if you win and Corey wins, you have to outscore him by 139.14, or you could beat Nick and Corey loses, and that will move you on to the 4th spot. So this is why I'm saying these 2 matchups are super important, whatever happens between BMAC's matchup and Corey's matchup. Corey, as for you, pretty much your win, you're in for the most part, but as long as you win and don't get outscored by the winner of Shane and Nick. So, I mean, it could happen. So so that's the scenario if BMAC wins, because BMAC will then claim the 3rd spot if he wins. Because if BMAC claims the 3rd spot, it's just going to be down to you 3 here. And it'll be whatever happens with this matchup. However, if BMAC does lose, this opens up opportunity for the 3 and 4th spot. So, and this is probably I would say your best path is if BMAC loses for Nick and Shane. So if BMAC loses, then Nick, you have to win and make sure BMAC doesn't outscore you by 19.32. Because you have a points advantage for him right now by 19.32. So you have 1533 and you're 1552. So 19.32. Shane, for you, if you win and make sure BMAC doesn't outscore you by 6.38, and then BMAC, with your loss, if you do lose, you have to outscore Shane or Nick, whoever the winner of that matchup is, to get that 4th spot. Corey, if you win, I'm just going to say that you're in just because of points for the most part. But if Corey loses and BMAC wins, Corey is going to be out from the playoffs. Now, here's why. He will be 7-7, 9-5. Winner of this match will be 8-6. So this is why I'm saying that Nick and Shane, their better chance as far as like points and records is if BMAC loses. Because then they'll have the points advantage over him. Very slight, but it's not like they have to win by 100. They need to outscore Corey by 126 points. Or they could do a win and Corey loss. You know what I mean? So it's tough either way. but I think your best bet is having BMAC lose. So Tybo, if you are listening to this, you got to play spoiler this week, my friend, because that is going to greatly increase the chances for Shane and Nick to make the playoffs. Even Corey losing, has a Corey. Not a spoiler. Sorry, Vinny. You need to play spoiler against BMAC because that will really help Shane and Nick. Even Tybo playing spoiler against Corey would be a big factor. Now, if Corey and BMAC both lose, then if they both lose, it's going to be pretty much whoever the winner of this matchup is will get in. So this is an interesting week if they both lose. There's unfortunately though, due to the points, there's no scenario where you both will get in. Unfortunately, Nick or Shane, only one of you will have the opportunity to get in. But you both can't get in just because of points. Unless you somehow outscore Corey. But so this is a situation where the winner of that matchup will spike up a little bit, and then it's going to matter what happens between them two. So those are the scenarios really to get into the playoffs. Definitely different than last year for sure. But because of having all the same records, it's been pretty crazy. So, Tybo playing upset. I mean, all 7 in a row. I mean, just got to play upset, and Vinny as well play upset. If those guys play, I would say between the two, Vinny has a better chance to upset BMAC than Tybo does to Corey. I'm just gonna say that. So, Vinny could play upset. He really could. So, but yep. So those are the matchups there. Obviously, if Corey and BMAC do win, they're most likely just going to be in. It's just how it is. So yeah. So those are the scenarios here. So best of luck, guys. This is going to be a huge week for most of you. All right. Let's move on to last week's matchups. So last week's matchups here, two high-scoring ones, and then very on the lower side here. I first want to give a shout out to Ant. Let's go, Ant. Getting the win. BMAC predicted that you will get one more win in the final weeks, and you did. I want to start with this matchup first here. We called it the Toilet Bowl matchup, and it certainly was. 88-85. I mean, whew. This is the lowest scoring matchup, I think, this year between the two teams. But no Trey Benson, no problem. But, I mean, if I'm on Rob didn't get hurt, I think Tybo would have won. But let's go, Ant. Now you guys are both 3-10 here. A.J. Brown here, cooking Chicago, 35 points. Great to see. A little worried about him. But over the last couple weeks, he's gotten better and better. So, if only he played like that the whole season, right? With no Drake London, Kyle Pitts definitely played very well for you as well. Olave, and then Jay Jetta's with no quarterback, it is very sad. If I'm going to tell you right now, if Justin Jefferson does not, if they run with JJ McCarthy next year, I move Justin Jefferson to a second round pick. Just going to be honest. Unless they can somehow find that chemistry. But that's what I would do. Now, Lamar is a very weird situation here. I mean, look at this. The last 3 games, it's been so brutal for them. and they played a really bad defense in Cincinnati. So not really sure what. Look at Lamar's projections. It's projected 16 points. You've never seen that for Lamar. Usually you see Lamar like 25, 20. Lower than 18, that's bad. So Lamar's having rough. Definitely could bench him if you need to. Probably I honestly would play Jordan Love over him. But overall, great job, Ant. Way to sneak in that nest, that nail biter of the week. And looking over on Tybo's side here, yeah, the injury to Amon-Ra is big. We're not really sure what's going to happen with him, like, because right now the Lions are in like a win now situation. Like they have to win, otherwise if they lose, like their chances of making the playoffs just plummet. So they said he could miss one game, but they also said that they're just holding him out of practice to see how he is. He's going to be a game time decision. If he's able to play, he'll play. Simple as that. But even DeAndre Swift 20, and Goff also had 20. So, everybody else a little bit on the smaller side here. Nothing really else that stands out. Josh Jacobs with only 10. That definitely is not what he usually does. So like I said, even if Amon-Ra had a couple catches, you would have won. You would have won, Tybo. But what a great toilet bowl battle, exactly as I expected. I predicted under 100 points. Yeah. All right. So, moving on to the matchup of the week for sure, which was going to be Dan taking on Corey here. But a nice matchup, nice high scoring, 149 to 136. Dan taking the W, also clinching the division that way. This was a very big matchup here. Yeah, just like Nick says, Dan keeps winning. It is really interesting too. I mean, and that's when you know you have a complete team. Think about it. You have, a top 4 running back, but then look at his special teams and kicker. I mean, 28 points from the Seahawks defense, 19 from the kicker. I mean, you have to look at this. 15, 14, 13, 19. And then Seattle being the number 1 defense, like, you could start them against anybody at this point. Like, seriously. Maybe not some upcoming matchups, but I mean, look at this. This is 47 points coming from your defense and kicker. I mean, 47 points, that's sometimes 2 stars won't even get you that. So the fact that 47 points of our fantasy points is coming from your defense and your kicker, I mean, you better win those games because that's incredible. So definitely with the defense pick of the year, Seattle and the kicker. This is incredible. This is a week by week basis. Outscoring, look, the 47 points outscored Tet, Travis, Michael Pittman, DK, and probably almost Bucky combined. Like, so it's kind of like crazy what we're witnessing with that, because this is a week by week thing. But with that comes greater less reward, because if they do end up having a bad week, say Jason Myers doesn't get you, he get 4 points, and then Seattle gets you 4. That's like 40 points. Well, obviously he would have lost. So it's crazy to think, but a lot of his team is riding on the defense and kicker, how well they do, which is, you don't see that because his receivers put up duds. Tet literally, actually, Tet was one of the big. Tet would have had a donut. He literally had a touchdown, 1 catch. Look at his stat line. 1 catch for 43 yards, and it was a touchdown, which gave him 11.3 fantasy points. Literally, like, saved his fantasy day right there. So great to see Bucky Irving back though, and he did well. 16 points, solid for his first game back, honestly, or second game. Um, but yeah, yeah. And how about them Cowboys here wrapping off another W against Kansas City? We get a nice matchup against the Lions on Thursday, so I just have to throw that in there. um, but yeah, it's just I've never seen anything like it with this defense and kicker. That is just truly incredible. And that's when you know you have a complete fantasy team where you have a good QB, a good running back, a decent tight end, good defense kicker, solid flex. And that's the reason why he's 9-4. So, so great job, Dan. And overlooking over here at Corey's side here, great game by Patty Mahomes. With still the L, but great game. Poor game by Rico Dowdle. Let's see, how many carries did he have? Oh, we had under 20, 9.9. Remember what did we say? If he has under 20 carries, it's under 20 carries doesn't do well. Puka with 13. Now, I don't know. Let me guys. What do you guys think? Devontae's getting a lot of the red zone targets. Is Puka? I think so. Here's how I think their offense is working. Puka is going to get you down the field. Devontae will finish it. It's just how it is. I mean, he's still got 9 targets, so he's still getting targeted. Puka, no question. It's just once it comes like red zone, let's do the backside fade to Devontae. Bam. So, that's a pretty fun offense to be around. You have your guy in Puka, but then Devontae is getting you the 6-7 points at the 1 yard line. So, and what did I tell you? Not gonna say that I called it, Corey, but Michael Wilson. It's okay. Rome didn't do any better. So 6.6, but still at 7 targets, but definitely a lot less than what he's had. With the return of Marvin Harrison, you can see that there was a difference. They were definitely targeting Marvin more and Trey McBride. So, we'll see what happens this week. But I expect Jacoby to keep flinging that ball. We were watching the game, the Patriots game. We were aware that they were, when they got that was it a punt return touchdown or whatever touchdown? He had 18 fantasy points. Dan was like, "No way, I'm going to lose." It was close, but 13 from them was good. So overall, though, with Rico's going to be going on a bye, we have some actually really important bye weeks this week. Some very usable players that go on a bye week. So this is going to be interesting for some folks that have like the Panthers, the 49ers, Giants. There's a lot of teams that are on those buys that are usable players. Of course, it's the last week, right? But overall, great job, Dan, and you clinched your division and pretty much the number 2 seed. So that's awesome. All right. So let's move on to our blowout of the week, and this is unfortunate for Trayvon just because he's been winning, but the schedules will screwed him over. So, but looking at it here, Trayvon with the 140 to 91, pretty much like a 50-point win, 49 technically point win by Trayvon. Definitely a brutal loss for Nick. And the first thing I want to point out is JSN really is human. Holy Lord. I mean, his lowest all year, 4.3. And, it's crazy because Seattle won 26-0, but it was really their defense. And granted, I mean, Minnesota, if looking at their fantasy, they actually have the number 1 fantasy rated passing defense. So it's really interesting, but I mean, not that it would matter for JSN, but only 4.3 fantasy points. Definitely not what you would see from JSN. So it's glad to see he's human. I'm sure Nick did not like that at all, though. Definitely wanted the win. And Zay Flowers with the 0.6. Jeez, that's brutal. He had 2 he must have had like negative yards somewhere for rushing carries. No, yeah, he had six two catches for 6 yards. Don't know how that led to point 0.6, but yeah, 0.6 points. And having the Chargers offense, with Justin Herbert, he did undergo surgery on his left hand. He did hurt it. He went in, he came back, but it's looking like it's considered day to day against Monday. Good thing they have a Monday night game, so he'll give us some extra time because Nick definitely will need him to step up. And then Terry McLaurin, 22 points. The first game back in weeks, and he drops a 22 bomb. That's just a spit in the face for Nick. So, but having majority of the Chargers offense, with Herbert and McConkey, that's kind of what did it really too. And the fact that JSN at 4.3 and 0.6, so the team runs through JSN and HN. HN did a grade though, 19. So just another. I think it's just a bad week for Nick. He'll definitely bounce back. He needs to bounce back. And Trayvon, oh man, Rashee Rice, 29. I mean, he's this guy is just a baller, man. It's truly incredible with him. I mean, only one bad game so far in his return. So imagine he had Rashee Rice in the beginning of the year, would have been massive for him. RJ Harvey taking like a really good step in for Dobbins when he's hurt. 21 points against Washington. He's had a nice friendly matchup against the Las Vegas too. And then we got Chase with 18, did well. Bo Nix, that was a great matchup against Washington, overtime game. So, and here I just wanted to point out Marvin Harrison, 6 targets for 69 yards, 12.9 fantasy points. So, you could see that he was definitely targeted more than Michael Wilson. So definitely will have an effect. But yeah, really, interesting game. ETN against Tennessee, 15. It was a day that Trevor Lawrence wanted to throw, and Tootin took a touchdown. So it's annoying that Tootin's getting the goal line work a little bit, but ETN's still the guy though. He definitely out carried Tootin. It's just Tootin got the goal line rush. So definitely, a win that Trayvon needed, but apparently the schedule said otherwise. So it's unfortunate. But good luck next week, gentlemen. Let's move on to our next matchup here. We got Shane taking on BMAC, another one that was fun to watch here. BMAC took the L, unfortunately, by 7, which helped me clinch the division. So thank you, BMAC. So looking at Shane here, let's see. CD had a way better game here, 24 points, wasn't dropping any passes. Javonte caught a touchdown, 17, great to see from him. Kyron still had a productive game, 13 fantasy points, even though that goal line, it's I don't know what they're doing in that red zone, but it's rough for Kyron right now. Especially with the emergence like Blake Corum. Kyron did suffer a little injury, but they're saying the coach said he's feeling pretty good. So we'll see what happens with that. And Josh Allen had the 16. So a little weaker game from Travion Henderson. I mean, they were up so much, the Pats. I think they just kind of stuck with Ramondre a little bit. But it was a little worrisome, actually, because I think BMAC, he could have tied or it was really close. So there was an opportunity in the fourth quarter that this kicker actually missed a field goal, which would have given him 4 points. His kicker, because he went 4 for 5. So that kick could have actually up with the win against Shane. That would have been nuts, but yeah. And looking over on BMAC's side here, yeah, there's your red zone threat. It's crazy to think that right now, I think Devontae, say what you want, I think he's the number one target in here. I mean, he's this moment. I mean, all right, number one. I'll say, okay, never mind. I can't say that because he's the red zone threat. So he's the red zone threat. But like these 1 yard backside fades, or if he doesn't get those though, then what's his value at? Think about it. Derrick Henry 17, great to see. Little rough performance from Gibbs, 11.6. They get a nice matchup against Dallas, who's been better against the run, but we'll see what happens. And Jalen Hurts here with 16 with the loss to Chicago. It was a brutal loss for them. Gadsden, he is not the same anymore. Ever since that great start, last 3 games have been duds. With Quentin Johnson getting touchdowns again, it's where does Gadsden rank on the pecking order now for Justin Herbert? And Egbuka, the last 3, I mean, honestly, ever since really his injury, it's been pretty rough for him, for Egbuka. He got hurt, but he was still played the next week. So 4, 9, 6, 9, 6, 8. Kind of reminds me a lot of like Rome Odunze a little bit. So, but overall, it left Jameson Williams. So this is a great time to point out Jameson Williams. If Amon-Ra doesn't play, Jameson Williams will definitely be the number one wide receiver for Goff and a must-win. So something to keep an eye out. If Amon-Ra doesn't play, Jameson Williams will be the guy. So that could really help BMAC too for next week if he doesn't want to lose. So we'll see what happens there. But great game, gentlemen. This was a fun one to watch, and best of luck next week, gentlemen. All right, and the final matchup that we had was me taking on Vinny, and I want to start with, what was it? 3, did you have +3 for me, or was it -3 for me, Corey? And what was the other matchup here? You said that was a landslide. I think you said it was Bikini Bottom Bubble Bass here with the 15.5. Completely wrong, man. Completely wrong. I don't know if you said mine for -3. If you said mine for -3, then you're good there. But for me, here was a great game for myself. Vinny, definitely, on the weaker side here for sure. Like I said, it's just injuries. He doesn't have any other receivers, I mean, he's got Sutton who had a good game. McCaffrey, 17, all right. Saquon, that's 5. And then, after that, he really didn't have anybody else. So, 92 points from Vinny. Yeah, Saquon, it's super tough because how do you bench a guy like Saquon? And at this point, it doesn't matter for Vinny anymore, but tough season for him. I had high expectations for this team. I really did. But that's fantasy life. Talk about Jacoby Brissett here, man. 19 fantasy points. He has been balling the last 5 weeks. Actually, really 6 weeks before this. Really all of his starts since Kyler Murray got hurt. He has been absolutely balling. And props to him, man. Whew. Great to see. He gets a tough matchup against the Rams, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah. And there's Roma Dunze. The 2.8 fantasy points. And sometimes it's Caleb's throws. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Some of those throws have been brutal, but he just spreading the ball too much around. So he's going to have a tough matchup against Green Bay, too. Yeah. So overall, though, it was a good matchup, Vinny. I at one point thought I was actually going to lose when McCaffrey was cooking. But, Nico ended up having a really good game. So yeah. Left Alec Pierce on the bench, too. So yeah, let's move on to our this week matchups here. So like I said, we have some guys on a bye. And that's gonna be a big impact to some teams. So yeah, so looking into the matchups here, and I do want to start with the matchup of the week. It's gonna be between Shane and Nick. This is definitely a matchup because you got to win, and you play each other. You just have to win. So, taking a look here, we do have some buys here. Really important buy, Travion Henderson for Shane here. Really unfortunate, but Woody Marks still a great player. With the return of Joe. Wow, interesting, very interesting. A Joe Burrow start over Josh Allen. That is really interesting to me. Curious to see. Maybe, hey, you know what? People see something that I don't see all the time. So with the start to Joe Burrow, against Buffalo, that's gonna be a great game, by the way. Then we got Javonte against Detroit, Kyron Arizona, CD. Okay, all right, very good matchup here. Over on Nick's side here. Anybody on a bye for him? He does have Hunter Henry on a bye, so he will need to replace his tight end. I think he also picked up a QB just in case Herbert is out. So, unfortunately, they both are affected by buys, but still here. So if there's any team I'm gonna have to lean against here, this is wow. This is really interesting. Man, Justin Herbert. It's going to really be dependent on the status of Herbert, I think. Because Achane against the Jets, he's going to feast. Genti against Denver won't. I mean, that's going to be a rough game. Denver's defense is phenomenal. I think I really want to lean Shane here. I really do. But it's gonna be a battle no matter what. This is we're gonna see what happens here. But I think I want to lean Shane's way, just because I think this Detroit game is gonna be very high. It's gonna be pretty high scoring, I think. And then that Cincinnati Buffalo game should be good too. So, just looking over here, the matchups like Philly. We don't know what status of Herbert is. You have to put in Tyrod Taylor. It's not going to be, may not be as good. So I'm going to lean Shane here for now, but this could be a close one. I really hope we have Monday night matchups. Oh, we do. Yes, we do have a Monday. So this is interesting. It'll come down to that Monday night game. It's exciting. It's exciting. But best of luck, gentlemen. And this is, your first step is you got to win. So, next, looking at the next matchup here, another really good one I like to watch. Myself taking on Dan, the two number ones. We've clinched already, so this is essentially for bragging rights because I'm pretty much going to clinch the 1 seed unless I truly put up like a donut. But I do have some buys here. We got Kittle and Jennings on a buy, and Dan has Tet and Ramondre. So his flex is on a buy. So he has thrown in T. Higgins, it looks like, who is questionable. He hit the league's concussion protocol this past Monday, so he will need to pass that in order to play. Otherwise, he'll have to throw in someone else. But I did decide to bench Jacoby against the Rams. Tough matchup, so in Baker we trust. JT, James Cook, Nico. See what Roma Dunze could do against Green Bay. We got our with Kittle on a bye. We got Ferguson, which is not bad, and we threw in Debo. So, like I said, this matchup really doesn't necessarily mean anything for both of us since we're pretty much locked into our respective seeds, and unless he somehow outscores me by almost 200 points, which I doubt that. So this is just doesn't really matter this one. But see what he does is he keeps Seattle's defense in with Bijan. Remember what we always say: star players and defenses. We'll see what happens. Not gonna toot my own horn, but I like to lean my way here. Bijan against that Seattle defense is rough. Bijan might not have a good game. Bucky could have a good game. DK is questionable sometimes, and hopefully Pittman does a little bit of a bounce back. So I'll still lean my way though on this, just because I got a nice matchup: Jonathan Taylor, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, James Cook. So I'll lean my way here, but it should be a fun matchup. It's one of those no stress matchups. Great to see. You don't really have those too often. Moving on to the next one here, we have BMAC taking on Vinny. And see, the reason why I say this is going to be a rough one for Vinny, he has got half of his team on a bye pretty much. Got McCaffrey on a bye, Drake May on a bye, Tracy on a bye. He will have potentially the return of Drake London, which will be a big help to him. But he will need to get another running back because he doesn't have any other running backs on his team. They're both on buys, so he will need to get another running back. So he'll have to work the waiver wire a little bit. But that's a lot of his offense here, and so this is going to be tough. This is why you're going to want Tybo to play spoiler against Corey, because if I'm going to lean anybody right now, it would be BMAC. I mean, with CMC out and Drake May, those are two big offenses. Drake London coming back could be help, and hope maybe Saquon will have the game, but he's also going to he can put in Stafford. All right, that's not terrible. So we'll see what he gets from the waiver wire. He'll have to work the waiver wire a little bit. But otherwise, I think I may have to lean on BMAC's side here, which if he wins, he's going to clinch that third spot. So, and then if he does clinch that third spot, he'll be facing Dan in the first round of the playoffs. So that'll be a fun one. So we'll see. But best of luck, gentlemen. Yeah. And moving on over to the next important matchup here, it's going to be Corey taking on Tybo. And like I said, this is very important for Tybo. We need Amon-Ra to play. That would be massive. If he does play, it's going to be a game time decision for him. They're saying Omari and Hampton could play today or play this week. Not really sure, but we will see. He does have Rico on a bye as well, so that's a big loss for Corey there. So we will see what happens. If Hampton plays, we don't know. He might get the full workload. They sat him out because they weren't really too. I think they wanted to give him the full workload now. So I think if he does play, he will. I think he's gonna be the full workload. So, unfortunately, though, I mean, Tybo, seven loss in a 7-game losing streak. You haven't really made many changes to your team. I mean, Mike Evans, does he have any chance of coming back? I'll return to practice Wednesday. I mean, we'll see. But I'm going to have to lean Corey's way, which would, unfortunately, but because I would love to see, that Shane Nick battle mean something, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Crazier things have happened. So maybe Jacobs going against Chicago, rough defense, Dallas, Jared Goff. So, DeAndre Swift, he will need to put another defense in. So best of luck, gentlemen. Will Tybo pull off the upset? That'd be crazy. And to the matchup, that means absolutely nothing at all. Bragging rights, you gotta make sure your history is good. You have Trayvon take it on Ant, and so anybody that has a bye week here, he's got Diggs on a bye. Okay, it doesn't really mean too much. But if there's anybody I'm gonna lean, it would definitely be Trayvon here. I mean, just Justin Jefferson against Washington. If he doesn't have a good game there against Washington, that's really unfortunate. Look on paper, you think like, wow, Houston, Denver, Buffalo, and then going up against some of these here, a lot easier over on this side, but still got to go with the more consistent guys over the past week. So Trayvon will get you this win to be 7-7 on the year, 500. Honestly, that's a moral victory, because you had started out like, what was it like? It was like 3-6 or something. I mean, you've done very well, and then the second half of the stretch. So, finishing 7-7, if you do, I would be very proud of that, honestly, with the way your team and the bad luck you've had. You could have easily made the playoffs if your injuries, and you actually had Rashee Rice. So yeah. So those are the matchups of the week. I'm not forgetting anything right now. I'm not. So this is it. It's win or go home, as they say. So remember the scenarios. Just the most important thing for Shane and Nick is one of these two guys lose. If they both lose, it's even better. But there will need to be some upsets that happen. So we'll see. I mean, you truly never know with these things. Could be an injury that happens in the first quarter, or there could be, you don't know. So, but congrats everyone to a wonderful regular season. I will do a recap of like pretty much the entire year too. Like all the trades, who ended up winning all these trades, the trades that happened, who really just had the disappointing year, who was the sleeper team. We'll do it all, coming next episode, since we don't really have to go on a week by week matchup next week. What I'll probably do for the playoffs is just focus on the playoff teams, and then we'll do like additional things like, who was the steal of the draft? Who was, we'll do some of those stuff next week. Because, we don't really need to go through all the consolation games. I can absolutely still go to. Just let me know if you guys want me to in the comments to go through the consolation games, like matchups. I absolutely can, but I think I'll probably put more of my focus on the 4 playoff teams that do matchups. So it'll be a lot shorter of a video probably, but we will go from there. But thank you guys for tuning in. Kenny's Corner says peace out to all of you. Peace.